Hey, I'm J.R. Lay. Welcome back to another episode of the Level Up Business Podcast. You know, there's an old song that goes, "Will you remember me? Well, I remember you." And I'm not going to sing that for you, but you probably have the song singing in your head right now. The question is, when someone sings that song, are they singing it about your B2B brand? Are they singing it about your personal brand? Are they going to remember your personal brand? Are they going to remember your B2B brand? And if they do, what is it that they remember, if they remember you at all? And what exactly can you do to help make your brand even more strategic, to help your brand become even more memorable? We're going to find out together on today's podcast. But first, I'd like to invite you to get a copy of my best-selling book, Banking on Change. It is the entrepreneur's guide to achieving exponential growth in the age of AI. Text me 832-240-1922, and I will text you a copy so that you can level up your mind, you can level up your marketing, you can level up your sales, so that most importantly, you can level up your business and your life. Now, joining me for today's conversation is Bobby G. He is running brand over at Propr. Bobby is on a mission to make brands more strategic, to make brands more memorable. He's also the author of a great book, Build Your Brand Like You Give a Shit. I love that, Bobby. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, man. And I'm not singing either, so just get that out.
All right. Let's talk about this thing. You've been studying brand and more, I think, more deeply for today's discussion for those watching and listening, and perhaps even more interesting. It's this human behavior component. I know you're a student there, anthropology, psychology. Even before we hit record, you mentioned that you've been reading a new book on insights. What are you learning?
Just finished it. Yeah.
What book?
Seeing What Others Don't. The Remarkable Way We Gain Insights by Gary Klein. And that was recommended to me. Someone I interviewed for my next book who's a human-computer sort of technician, but like understanding how humans and computers interact. So pretty relevant to today.
Absolutely. And when you think about this idea of sight and vision, there's some ancient wisdom out there that says where there's no vision, the people perish. But I think perhaps we just lose sight of things. We can't see what we can't see. Sight, vision is the first step for human transformation that I write about in Banking on Change. You got to see things differently.
Yeah.
When we think about brands and memorable brands, where are we missing the mark in B2B?
Where are we missing the mark? Well, that's an interesting question. And I think it comes down to understanding what we're trying to accomplish with a brand and what actually makes a brand different than others in a way that is meaningful to the customer. Not some marketing kind of stuff that we're like, oh, we're different because our people or our technology is different, or meaningless crap that we try to make something relevant that people use their opinions or whims or their ego or to make a decision about their business. I think that's where we go wrong, is that we don't actually like understand that brand is the true foundation for anything. It's the things that we care most about. It's, again, like you said, the vision. Without a vision, without a goal, you have no purpose. So, we've kind of like laughed at like, I work with businesses that have a purpose. That stuff is so silly to me because people don't know what they're actually saying. They're just repeating something they heard. Every business should have a purpose. Now, the purpose doesn't necessarily mean that like we're saving the world, but the purpose is your goal. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? What matters most to you? And what I help people do is clarify that. And years ago, before I started Propr, I worked at a enterprise e-commerce and HubSpot agency. I was a creative director. And what a problem I had that everybody in the agency world, whether a freelancer or in an agency or even in-house creatives, they get a client who comes back with some feedback that's like, I don't like it. What can you do with that? Nothing. But what most people do as a reaction is try to guess what they will like. What will they get, what will get them the yes for approval. And no one hires me to tell them what they want to hear. They hire me to tell them what they need to hear. And when I had that last time a client's like, I don't like it, I said, that's it. I want to figure out how to remove that from the equation. Unacceptable. I don't want that ever again. I hate it. It's stupid. There's nothing actionable or you can't take that and do anything with it. So I set on to this journey of like solving that problem. And the way I thought about it first was like, how can I extract the information I need for me and my team to do the best possible work for the client? The client isn't the decision maker. The client's the brand, the business.
So let's pause. I want to pause.
Sure.
I want to pause you right there because I think there's an important distinction to make. And let's roll this back just a little bit.
Sure.
Because you shared a lot, and I want to come back for clarity's sake. I think sometimes when you hear that word brand, people can define that differently based upon a previous experience.
Yeah.
And so I think we need some contextual setting on this. Number one. And I'll use the analogy that has come up in my work when working with executives, for example, when working with entrepreneurs. And I ask entrepreneurs, I'm like, listen, what is marketing in one word? And they're like, just one word? Just one word. I like limiting constraints. They think, and I would say 80 to 85% of the responses come back along the lines of some sort of communication. And it could be ads, it could be email, it could be social media, just some sort of communication. And I'm like, okay, that's great. You're on the right track. I would say that's one of three elements of marketing at the macro level. It's probably the mid. But I'm like, well, what do you have to do first and foremost to be a good communicator? And they look a little puzzled at that point. And I said, well, you have two of these for a reason and one of these. They're like, we have to listen before we can communicate. I said, exactly. Right. But then what is marketing in one word? Let's go back to the question. Why? Why are we even communicating to begin with in the first place? Why are we even listening to communicate? And that's where the big breakthrough comes from because influence. We're influencing some sort of behavior. And
right. You're manipulating their mind.
Yeah. Through the communication.
And that doesn't mean like a negative thing, right? You're changing how their mind is working. So
away from something or towards something.
Right. Like so marketing to me, I don't have one word for it, but it is like sending a message. And Seth Godin says everything is marketing. And I don't agree with him on everything. He's like the Howard Stern or the Rolling Stones of marketing. He's just the greatest rock and roll band in the world. Just ask us. But he has a lot of insights and he does say some things that I agree with. And I do agree that everything is marketing because everything you do, say, activities, your business, where it looks like, what you design, what you put out there, the activities, that's sending a message.
Yeah.
But what that message is and how it's received and how it influences people's reaction and what steps they take afterwards, that's brand. Your brand is your reputation. So that's easy for one word.
So brand,
you're earning everything you do is earning that. Right.
Earning reputation. Okay, that's great contextual foundation because the other point that you mentioned before was the idea of differentiation. And one of the things that you're talking about is a lot of brands will say, well, we're different. And I think about before launching Level Up Business in the 23 years that I had worked in financial services around some of this work here, even on the brand side, one of the questions I would ask, why should I open an account, or why should I apply for a loan at your bank or at your credit union?
Right.
And it's interesting, the lack of critical thinking and the parroting, like you mentioned before, you probably heard it from someone else, and so you just parrot that behavior, and that becomes the common language. And because what we would find is across literally the entire United States, around 92 to 94% of institutions would give the same exact answer. And you could distill that down to, we have great rates, we have amazing service, and we've got these awesome product features. And I'm like, that's super fascinating, because everyone else is saying the same thing.
Swap the logo. It's the same.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, what? And this was my purpose of why launching Level Up Business, because what I was finding is they never talked about expertise. They never talked about unique wisdom, knowledge, the more of the human-centric aspect of the relationship here. So brand's reputation.
Differentiation is like, you again, like the parroting, right? Like you're like, oh, you come into things and you know, people are like, well, what's your differentiator? And they'll like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're with other entrepreneurs or in programs and coaching things, seminars, what's your differentiator? Why you? And it's something that like is truly important, like up front, but it is. And here's how you do it, right? You have to be a slightly different category than everybody else. And that's not getting into like category design, because that is just like, that is something that I don't truly buy into. There's some great notions that the people that do it. And
what do you mean by category design for those that aren't
so
familiar?
Like a category design, like bottled water, right? There's like a million brands that do bottled water, and then liquid death, put it in a can. That's a new category. The category existed. They just made it slightly different.
Yep.
And, you know, then they had the whole kind of like hardcore metal vibes to the design. But that's a true differentiator there. Differentiator's made up of two things: the personality of the brand, the vibe. That's why you see like big brands having like cartoon characters or spokespeople with a clear personality, and they run that over and over and over, that you start feeling that that's the personality of the brand. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, it's just a cold-hearted, greedy conglomerate trying to destroy the world for profit. But they have a cool personality and a cool character. I like them. They feel good to me, right? But like on a smaller level, for smaller brands and individuals, like people talk about personal brand, I think that doesn't really exist. Like, just be you. That's your personal brand. Like, just be you. Because as Naval Ravikant said, when you are your true, authentic self, you have no competition, because no one can compete with you on being you. So be you. And it's harder for small brands to actually articulate that. That's what I help them do. But the other piece of it's your IP. So personality and IP. IP is intellectual property. Why you do what you do. Your expertise. Your insights. In our experience, we do this because... Your IP translates to the value you provide, you deliver to your customer. So when you think about, there are many people that do something like I do, but there's only one Bobby G. So building brand awareness through brand marketing gets me out there. I talk about the things I have expertise in. I talk about the common problems that my clients have. That's the me part, plus the IP. So those two things together says like, hey, you can go to a million agencies to have someone try to do what I do, or in my experience, I do it this way because it's more benefit to you because of X, Y, and Z. That's true differentiation. And they're going to say, I like your vibe, or it's not for me. And they're going to self-select and be like, I like how you roll, dude. I like what you say. This resonates with us. Can we work together? And it's honestly get to that question quite often when I have the right person in front of me. And we all can do it.
Quick break for my conversation with Bobby, as I'd like to invite you to text me 832-240-1922, because I'm going to text you a copy of my best-selling book, Banking on Change. It's the Entrepreneur's Guide to Achieving Exponential Growth in the Age of AI. You see, inside Banking on Change, you're going to get dozens of practical strategic frameworks that you can start using today. These are the same frameworks that I have used, that I've developed over the last 23 years as a B2B entrepreneur. These frameworks will help you first and foremost level up your mind, so that then you can level up your marketing and sales, and as a result, level up your business and your life as a B2B entrepreneur. Let's get back to the conversation with Bobby. I want to pause on a point that you use this word a few times, vibe. And perhaps that vibe, we can substitute that with feeling. We could substitute feeling with emotion. We could substitute emotion with energy. I mean, we can look at this a lot of different angles, but I think it's all saying the exact same thing.
Tone, personality, those types of things.
Yeah, and then we're going to come back to the point of the personal brand here in just a minute, but what you're talking around is, it's once again, it's one of the big drivers of why I'm doing what I'm doing with Level Up Business, because I believe in the uniqueness of the individual. I believe in the uniqueness of the entrepreneur. And I think that uniqueness is something that we're going to have to tap into more. As you thought the internet commoditized the world, wait until artificial intelligence, what it already is and will continue to do from a commoditization
Even
standpoint.
more important now. Even more important. Yep.
And you're speaking to this point of IP, and the way that I'm framing this is unique wisdom. Mm-hmm. Unique wisdom equals your unique perspective, and your unique perspective is the sum of your lived, learned, and shared experiences. But that is then multiplied by your unique methods, how you codify, visualize, systematize some sort of process that can be probably put into a pretty little picture, because the brain can process images 60,000 times, I'm getting tongue twisted, 60,000 times faster than the written word.
Yeah.
But let's come back to the point of vibe and feeling when it comes to brand, because I think it's you were touching on it when you have spokespeople, people that we can relate to, cartoon characters, and that's could be the front of something. But let's get back to the authenticity piece here, that we've got artificial intelligence on one side of the spectrum. I'm not so interested in that. I'm more interested in authentic intelligence and where you're coming from, what you're bringing here, your authentic intelligence of what you're bringing here. Yeah. Let's unpack authentic intelligence in relation to brand.
Yeah. I like that. Well, let's just look at AI, artificial intelligence, real quick. Let's just kind of go through the recent history. It's been not even 3 years since it came out. It came out in October commercially, 2022. Coincidentally, my first book came out the same month. No correlation, but maybe that inspired my second book. Yeah. But it's become the gluten-free badge on every consumer product. Everything comes with AI. Now with even more AI. Grass-fed, free-range AI. AI has become just cliche. And everybody's using it.
I love your perspective. That's why I'm laughing.
Try to win attention from the market, from consumers. So like it's really comical to me. And yes, AI is wonderful as a tool when you can really quantify how it's helping you achieve your purpose and goals. Starting with technology is a fool's errand that the marketing world has fetishized technology for 20 plus years. And that's why when you think of marketing, you think of tactics, you think of technology, you think of tools. You don't think of the people. You don't think of the business goals and outcomes. So authentic intelligence, we see people we're all getting hit with like AI bullshit, like messaging and emails and stuff, and it's actually comical because it's so bad. But it will get good. But here's the thing. I write a lot. I write more than I design, and whatever. Like I just kind of switched kind of my creative output. But everything I write is based off a conversation I've had. So I'm talking with other humans. I'm growing and learning.
Shared experience.
Right? And that's giving me inspiration for like, oh, these are the common problems that the people I want to help face. Those problems I'm hearing from them in their words. So it's not like I've been in marketing for 25 years. Like before that I was in school for it. Like I'm so deep in this world that I honestly fear that I don't know the language that other people use for the stuff that I do and work with. But I do, even though I fear that, but I do know that because I talk to them all the time. So that's my growth opportunity. And I refine my point of view and perspective by writing and then going back and forth and debating people or elaborating on that stuff. That's real intelligence. Like, so you can actually have AI learn your personality, learn how you write, and then you could tell it to like write these articles for me. But that is so dangerous because you're not actually writing it, so you're not actually learning and growing and improving, and you will be busted for it because they'll be like, this ain't the dude who was writing these articles.
All right.
This person doesn't know this stuff, right?
I want to hop in.
That's real, right?
I want to hop in because you're just sharing so much unique wisdom, and I'm so grateful. And it made me laugh because you're evoking an emotion, and I think maybe others who are watching and listening, we can laugh together. I was doing a couple keynotes, and you're right, like the context of time. 1994, the internet comes out. And it had existed before, but that was the year that the internet reaches the mass consciousness of humanity. Right. And so it's like AI commercialized. It existed before, but it was the launch of ChatGPT in that October, November of 2022. But to think what has happened over the last 2.5 years, it truly is exponential and mind-boggling. And it's like, I like the framing of AI is like the gluten-free or the organic or the grass-fed. Like it's a great analogy that we can emotionally connect with because we see it in other areas. But I was doing keynotes last year, and it was so fascinating because I'm bringing a human perspective to this. That's just always been my MO of like starting with people first.
Yeah.
Starting with people problems and pattern matching the common problems that cause common people pain. And then providing a cure prescription solution to those problems. But at a couple of these events, I was hearing rumblings from real people. If I have to sit through another session about AI, I'm leaving. It's like we've reached this saturation level. And we've been here before though. And it's like, I think about like the .com era. I think about like, like iPhone comes out, like everything is I this, I that. And it's just, we've been here before and we're going to go through these natural hype cycles. And I think that's where, once again, perspective, that unique perspective, lived, learned, shared experiences provides a lot of context that you can separate the hype and don't be a hype man, be a help man, be the person who's helping other people as you are here. And that's why
you gotta like back to that book I read, right? The insights, like I've always been like an insightful person. I never really realized it because I'm just me inside my brain and body. So like I only know that way. But even when I was a creative director before I started Propr, like I would talk about like recognize trends, not fads. And the trends are where things are going because we're moving forward. We're moving in some direction, right? But the fads are the things like Jenko jeans, right? Like that's not timeless. Even though it'll come back and people are rocking those things again, but like that is not timeless, right? And like, that is not the evolution of fashion. That's just, you can call it trendy, but it's a trend is trending in that direction. A fad is a temporary kind of pit stop based on some cultural subculture that rises to pop culture and then becomes cliche and embarrassing to the people who were actually in it from the get-go.
Right.
Like, just recognizing that stuff. And it's hard for people to do that because they're not really seeing the bookends. And the bookends or the natural bookends of things of where that insight lies. And we have to really kind of be sharp and learned and curious and like inquisitive, like wanting to know. Like I go to therapy for wanting to know the answer to everything, but also it makes me like a superpower because like why do you want to do that? And like I honestly want to know so I can do what's best based on the response.
Well, I think another key insight, it's kind of a meta thing, and I get you on wanting to know and how that like can drive you, kind of drive you a little crazy because I want to know. I'm 43 years old, but I still have the mind of a curious 5-year-old kindergartner that wants to pick up rocks and see what's under the rock and ask the why questions and challenge the conventional norm for no other reason, not to be a jerk, but just because I'm curious. And
we called it play as a kid. And then at some point in our, growing up, they told us that wasn't allowed anymore because you're a grown up. Yeah. I never stopped playing. I'm curious. Like, what's going to happen when I throw this log on this half-frozen creek? What's going to happen, if I put this hornet in this jar? Like, what's going to happen if, I dig this hole where the rats have been burying? Like, what's going to happen? Like, I want to know. I don't know. So I guess some people like, I guess I'm kind of unique in a way that I have a very scientific mind coupled with a very creative mind. So that curiosity, those experiments, like doing experiment, we still laugh about my brother and sister, even my parents. I would do experiments in little Dixie cups in our bathroom, and I'd hide them behind the curtain that was, or the towel that was hanging on the wall. And they would find these little experiments. I was just pouring all the liquid shit under the sink in these things to see what would happen. Good thing I never mixed like Clorox with ammonia.
Oh yeah.
Good thing, right?
That's right.
But you're 5, 6, 7, like you don't know that.
But you just want to know because you just
want to know.
And I think that right there, that as we start to wrap up, that curious mind and that curious mindset is something that it's a capability that we probably have forgotten, but we can tap back into that.
Yeah.
And it comes back to something that you mentioned before. It's having connections, making connections, and having conversations. Mm-hmm. And one of the acronyms that I use is go all in on people, to ask, to listen, and to learn, and just to be curious. Bobby, as we wrap up, what's the one thing that you would recommend someone who has made it this far in our conversation, and thank you for staying with us, to watch, to listen, to learn, to grow, to be curious like we are? What would be the one thing that you would recommend they do next so that they can build that brand that's memorable, that stands the test of time, and it's not just a flash in the pan fad?
I'm reminded of something Confucius said. I don't know the actual quote, but it was something along the lines like, go somewhere you've never been before, like every month. And he meant travel, like travel to see somewhere. But I heard that a million years ago, and I really liked that. I did. Go somewhere you're not familiar. See what it's like. Whether it's walking home from work instead of driving, whether it's, actually going to a different vacation place than you're used to, or listening to a different music, or reading a book that is completely out of your comfort zone, that's going to push you to grow and expand your ability and your vision, right? And think about how you can apply that to your business. Go to where you're not comfortable. Go to where you don't know the answers, and find the people to help shepherd you through that. And you will grow, your business will grow, your life will be great.
I like that, Bobby. Thank you. And it reminds me of, I think it was a Joseph Campbell quote, because, that go somewhere different.
Not a Bruce Campbell?
Different. No, it was the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. Growth never happens in the comfort zone. Bobby, if someone wants to continue the conversation we started here today, what's the best way for them to reach out and say hello to you? Grab a copy of your book.
Find me on LinkedIn, that Bobby G. ThatBobbyG.
And where can they get your book?
On Amazon or that bookstore.org.
Grab the book. Connect with Bobby. Bobby, this has been a lot of fun today, buddy. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. This is awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. And if you want to continue to move forward and make progress on your journey of growth to level up your business, starting by leveling up your mind, give me a text, 832-240-1922, and I will text you a copy of Banking Unchanged. You don't have to do this journey alone.